Alright guys, so it looks like time for us to start off with the class. So first of all, I'd like to welcome all of you in your first class with the Business Analytics with our course at Edureka. My name is Mohit and I'm not your instructor, but I'm a part of the support team at Edureka. Now, what I'm going to do before you start the journey with your instructor, I'm going to give you some insights and some information about the course that you've joined in and some details as in how this course will be moved along. So, let's start with a small introduction. This course is about business analytics and data science, wherein you'll majorly cover business analytics theories with R. Now, how this course works. This is a 6 weeks program. That means you'll have 2 classes every weekend for 6 weeks, right? At the same time, you'll have 12 classes in total. Each and every session will be 2 hours, which will be live and online every Saturday, Sunday, as I mentioned. So there is a total engagement of 8 hours per week that you need to get into to get through this course. And 4 hours would be your live sessions and 4 hours would be assignments and case study that you do using the assignments and quizzes and the case studies available in your learning management system. So the project work included in this course would be around 15 hours. 2 hours of proctored final exam, that is towards the end of the session, you'll go through a final online examination, which will be problem-based examination, based on which you'll get your certification for the exam. Alright, now let's come up to some major points wherein, all the classes that you attend, like this class, each and every class is being recorded. All these recordings will be available to you on the learning management system and they would be in the downloadable format. That means that even if you miss some part of the class or you miss out with the class or you want to refer to the class again for any of the missed parts of the session, you can always go to the download, the recordings of the class, and you can go through the recordings and download them and revise the classes. All your course material, your PPTs, your PDFs, assignments, etc., everything you'll get as a soft copy on your learning management system as well, and that would also be in a downloadable format. Now, to the learning management system that we have mentioned multiple times, you get a lifetime access to the learning management system and the course content. That means throughout your life, you can anytime access your learning management system. So, and you can come back and take any classes live again if you miss out with the class. Right? Now the most important part here is that you have got 24/7 support available, which means that at any point of time, whenever should you have any queries or any questions, you can always come back to the support team from Edureka, which is available for you in-house, and you can ask your queries, get your queries resolved. Now this support team is reachable at analytics@edureka.in. And there is also mentioned on your number mentioned on your learning management system. You can go through that number and you can call on that number and you can get your queries resolved, set up a session, or get whatever you want. All right. Now, I hope that this is clear with everyone. Can I have a quick confirmation on the chat window? I hope nobody is sleeping already. All right. Aniruddha, Rahul, everybody confirms. Shalini, your LMS does not have a link. When you join, when you sign in from your registered email ID on the Edureka website, you are able to use your LMS. Is that clear? Great. Now, before moving ahead, I would like to introduce your instructor with you. Now, your instructor, she's a data scientist. She has more than 13 years of extensive experience in the industry, and more than 3 years, she has been working on R, predictive analytics, modeling, project management, and cloud. So I would like to ask your instructor to join in and take the session from here.
Hello.
Yeah, we can all hear you, Vidisha. Please go ahead.
All right. Good morning, everyone. Can you hear me properly? Yeah, you'll have to enter in the chat window. All right, can you see my screen? Wait, can you tell? Yeah, it's working now. I can have the questions on the screen. So can you all see my screen? Can you just enter in the questions window? Yes? Okay. All right. So my name is Vidisha, and you already had an introduction. So I will be with you for the 6 weeks for this program. So I know all of you are muted. If you have any questions or doubts, just write in the questions window. I will be answering your doubts after every few minutes, or after at least 3-4 slides. I'll be looking at the questions window and answering all your doubts. So if you still feel that you are unable to, I have not been able to clarify your doubts, I may request the coordinator, organizer to unmute you, and you can, we can have a conversation or discuss if I'm not able to address your questions through the chat, through your written question in the questions window. All right. So before we move ahead with business analytics with R, I just want to know a little bit about each one of you and whether you have any prior experience in R or in analytics space at all. So if you could quickly just write down one line in the window about, that would be very helpful. If you have any prior experience with R, and if there is anything which you have done in the space of business analytics. Yeah. So Rahul, okay. Okay, so Shalini, you have done a course in R and data science. Okay. What about the others? All right. Yeah, I can see. No, Anirudh, no experience. Rahul, but you have you're working in analytics as a program manager. Excellent. Sushant, you have taken Hadoop. All right. Okay, fine. Fair enough. Okay. So this we have already covered. You know the formalities of the course, how the duration, the timings, etc., the exams. And I also wanted to add that you can reach me over email at any point of time. If you get stuck on anything, feel free to reach out to me. And I will get back to your answers as soon as I can. Okay, so this is an overview of what we are going to do in this course. Okay. So today is more of an introduction. So we will get a basic idea of what is business analytics. So for many of you who have already been working, a lot of this could be something which you already know. What is it? What is business analytics? What is data science? And also an introduction to R programming. So from tomorrow we will go a bit deeper into R. So the first part is how to really import data or look at data in R. So there are various ways you can do that, and tomorrow we will start working hands-on in R, and start with importing data and some very basic functions. From the next week, we will go in depth on pre-processing part of the data. So before you actually go into any analysis or modeling, you have to prepare the data so that it is ready for you to manipulate or work on. So next week, the next Saturday and Sunday, we will mostly be working about this part, pre-processing the data, manipulating the data so that it is ready for analysis. And though this sounds very simple, typically in any data analysis kind of work, this involves a huge percentage. So a lot of time is actually spent or invested in making the data ready. There's a saying called garbage in, garbage out. So if your data itself, the quality of the data is not good, no matter how good a model you fit or how much analysis you do, you're not going to get good results. And often the data which we receive is not fit in a form that you can immediately run it through a model. So this part is, I think, very critical, and we'll cover that next week. Then we will go into more of data analysis on the week after, and R gives you a lot of tools for visualization. So right, so Sushant, I'll come back to your question. There are a lot of books and reference in the websites, in the web, as well as books which you can refer to. So the websites we will cover during the course of this program. I will be pointing you to the websites where you can reach out for help. There are a few books which you can get hold of. There are some e-books which I can give you the reference. Okay. All right. So then on the week after, which is the third week, we will do exploratory data analysis, which is more of descriptive analytics as we call it. What is the data actually saying? Looking at the summary, looking at some details about the data, and then after that we go into advanced data mining, do some data mining in R, model building, advanced topics, and over the next 2 or 3 weeks we do that, which ends in the final exam. So any questions about the course topics? Is this in alignment with what was your expectation? Anything which you feel, any question which you have at this point? All right, so we'll move on. Yeah, okay. So this is for today's learning objectives. This is a slide where we look at what are we going to cover today. So we talk a lot about business analytics, data science. So we'll go in depth about what these things really mean and how R plays a role in this space. Then we know more about the language itself, the background, how it has been evolved. What is R actually? Is it a language? Is it a platform? Is it a framework? So we'll look into all that. We go in depth about the usage of R. Why is there so much of, you must be knowing that R has gained a lot of popularity over the last few years. So how it is being used in the industry and how does it compare with other tools? We will make sure today that you have R installed and you know how to install R in your system, you are able to install the packages, and that you are able to do some basic operations in R. So you'll get familiar with the R platform. And there is also R Studio, which I will be introducing you to, and that's I find it a little more intuitive to use than R itself. So you will have an option of using R or R Studio. I will introduce you to both. R has a very extensive help, and this is something which we all need to be very comfortable using, because no matter how many courses or how many years you've spent in R is an evolving language. New packages are being evolved every day. New functions are getting created. So you need to rely on the help to find out what what are the packages, what are the functions which you can use for your modeling, and help comes to a lot of help in that matter. So we will look into how to use the help, and of course we will get familiar with the different communities, the different groups where you can also reach out for help. Okay, so what is business analytics? Would you like to put some thoughts in the chat window? What do you think is business analytics? Maybe in a sentence? Anyone? Analyzing business data. Okay. Able to get insight to the data for achieving business results. Very good. Drawing insights. Excellent. Analysis of business data to predict future results, or analyzing past data. Okay. All right. Okay. Excellent. So you are all on the right track. So if I look at the definition which is provided here, it tells me what? Study of business data using statistical techniques and programming for creating decision support and insights for achieving business goals. Excuse me. So there are different parts to this definition, right? And what you have mentioned is very much in line with what this definition tells us. But if you look at this definition in parts, one is it involves study of data and business data. So we all understand that. Statistics and programming. This is very important, right? So, you need to understand statistics as well as programming. So nowadays there is so many tools and programs and methods available to do statistical work. But if you are not a programmer, if you don't know the basics of programming, probably you can't use this to the best of its potential, right? So that is where statisticians with no programming experience do feel a certain handicap in the area of business analytics, and the same goes with programmers who have no statistical technique in the statistical background. So though you may know how to program, you may know how to call the functions, you feel handicapped by your basic understanding of statistics, and I'll go into why that is very, very critical. So these two things, the statistics and the programming, goes hand in hand. For creating decision support, right? So whether you do prediction or you do optimization or you do some exploratory analysis, what we are really doing is creating decision support. So in business, every day you have to take decisions, and for all these years, a lot of these decisions one used to take by, you can call it intuition, experience, discussions among various people with the expertise and the skills. It was not an exact science. So why today? Why suddenly are we talking about data-driven decisions? Yeah, so that is the question. The world is now moving towards a stage where these decisions are more and more taken with with the support of data, because no matter how experienced, how much knowledgeable you are, intuition may always be wrong. There is a lot of thrust, there is a lot of focus that we want to take decisions which is supported by data. And why today? Because of a number of reasons. One is a lot of data is available today, and you are aware of that, right? There is a lot more data which is being collected today all over in every domain. And the ability to work with that data. So IT infrastructure, with cloud computing, with the data centers, today there is a support for you to work with a huge volume of data. And thirdly, there is so much of tools. Like, so a few years ago it was probably just a few tools which people had to depend on. Today there are so many tools in the market which makes it possible for you to easily start using data for your business problems or business issues. So that is where we say that business analytics plays a role in helping you take decisions or decision support and insights for achieving business goals. And this is also very important. What is the purpose? What is the purpose of all this modeling? What is the purpose of all this collecting data, running so many models? So never to lose sight of the goal. And this is where domain knowledge plays a big role. Sometimes like I'm thinking of an example here. So when I started doing my analysis career, so we were doing some analysis of crimes data. What kind of crimes over the last 4-5 years in a particular city in the States. We were analyzing the different crimes, the different types of crimes, at what time of day it was happening, and all that. And we did a lot of things. We did clustering, we did segmentation, we did different kinds of modeling, and we made a presentation where some of the insights were like, okay, theft of vehicles happen outdoors while burglary happens indoors. And this we found out after doing a lot of analysis. And this is like really common sense, right? Of course, vehicles happen outdoor and burglary happen indoor. There's really no analysis which you need to do to come up with that understanding. Yeah. So sometimes you get so involved in the process that you lose sight of what is your goal, what is your purpose of doing all this analytics. So that is where your domain knowledge, your having a domain expert in your team on board is very important, who can always keep the focus in place. Okay. Now coming back to who uses it, almost everyone. Today all industries, anywhere you look at, there is definitely a potential and a chance for using data, and the domains who are like using it rampantly, these are a few of the domains where it is very popular: banking and financial services, pharma, healthcare, life sciences. That is another area where there is a huge amount of data generated every day. India, probably we are still evolving, in the sense, even at the data collection phase, we need to get to that stage where we are able to collect the data which we need in the pharma and the healthcare space. But in US and all, definitely there is where everything, with EMRs, electrical medical records, and EHRs, there is a huge scope of capturing this data and analyzing it. Telecom and retail are two other domains where a lot of this data is being used. So from all of you, do you have any particular domain experience? So when we go through this program, if we have any domain specific issues, then you can put in your experience. So do anybody have any experience in any domain? Would you like to just type that in? Anyone? just type something. If you don't have any domain experience, just say no, so that I can. Hello? Can you just type it in the questions window? Hello? Can you all hear me? I'm not able to see your responses in the. Is it the chat window you're using? Hello? Just want to ensure that you all are able to follow me. So if you could just type into the questions tab if you have any domain experience. Hello? Okay, can you hear me? Can you just type yes in the questions tab? Shalini, Rahul, Shivakumar. Okay. All right. So I see that Rahul has said not deep domain experience, retail, defense, medical. All right. All right. Yeah, I can see it now. I think the thing is, fine, it's all, I can see your messages now. Digital ad operations, perfect. So we have a very rich domain experience here, right? Digital ad and retail. Just trying to look through all the domain experiences which you have. Fine. So if, whenever we go deep into any domain, I may reach out to you for your insights and how you've used data in your domain. Great. So, okay, so moving on. These are the different domains where we describe that, business analytics is used very commonly. So who creates it? Who does the analytics? Who creates the models? And what are the skills needed? So let us look into that. Okay. So before we go into business analytics and who does that, what is business intelligence? So any thoughts on what is business intelligence? Yeah? Any thoughts on what is business intelligence? So this whole space, I would say that business analytics is a part of business intelligence, the subset of business intelligence. Business intelligence is the whole, let me just open the slide. Yeah. Business intelligence is this whole area which starts with collecting the data, extracting that data. So by all these years, by business intelligence, we used to understand data warehousing, or what is it? So collecting data from discrete systems, bringing it together, creating reports, drilling down into the data, and then the analytics involved around it, model building, prediction, everything is business intelligence. And data analytics forms a part of it. So like you see in this diagram here, there is data warehousing, enterprise reporting, performance management, and data mining. Business analytics falls more into the area of data mining here. So it's a set of theories, methods, processes, architectures, and technologies that transform data for business purposes. And here we look into what is data science. So in the slide previous to this, we were talking about what are the skills required for a business analyst, right? And we already mentioned that it's kind of a mixture of different kind of skills. So today, to be a good data scientist, you need to know programming. At least maybe you don't need to be an exceptional programmer, but you absolutely need to know the basics and fundamentals of programming. Because not every time, whatever package or model you use, you can just use it off the shelf. You need to, be able to make your own changes to the code, if necessary, to, create your own model. So a lot of times and also for data manipulation, for data imputation, a lot of programming skills are often required, right? So you need to have the basics or fundamentals of programming you need to know. Then of course you need to know statistics, and you need to know the business. So if you look at the Conway's diagram here, it's a very interesting Venn diagram which tells us that how these three skills or these three areas which we are talking about correlate, and how data scientist, to be a good data scientist, you really need to fall in that small space where you have knowledge of all three. So let's say you're very good at programming, and you have knowledge of maths, but you don't, or stats, but you don't have domain knowledge. So you may come up with a lot of models and machine learning techniques, etc. But they really may not give that value to the business. The end of it, what do you want to do? You want to derive insights for business, right? So that is the space where machine learning, if you see on top, hacking skills and maths and statistics knowledge, they overlap, but there is no domain knowledge. So you become a very good machine learning expert, but not necessarily a data scientist. Then if you are very good at programming and you have domain knowledge, but you don't know maths. Now see, if you see this, says it's a danger zone, because there are a lot of people who we see in the industry today who probably are, because of all the tools like R and SAS and different packages which are available, and because they know programming, you can just, easily run a regression model or run any complex algorithm without really knowing what is happening inside it. And that is very critical. If you do that, you will get results. The software will make sure you get results, and you might feel very happy about it. But unless you know what the model is doing and whether it's the right model to use, whether that's the right parameter to use, you will get results which really are not correct, or really will not tell you what you need to know. So that's the danger zone, right? You have to be very careful that the statistical methods you are using can actually be applied. Whatever are the criteria for, let's say, today you want to use a regression model, and there are certain prerequisites. That to use this model, your data has to fill these conditions, and that's what statistics tell you. The science of statistics tell you that if you want to use this model, you have to make sure that you have at least, let's say, 1,000 data points. Let's say a simple prerequisite like that. The number of data points has to be at least 1,000. Otherwise, you can't use this model. Let's say I don't have 1,000, but I feel that, doesn't matter. Let me use the model anyway and see what results I get. And I use the model and I get a very nice looking result, and I feel, oh, cool, it doesn't matter. What if I don't have 1,000 data points? It's still working. But then you have broken the premise on which the model is based, right? So you have to make sure that whatever statistical fundamentals are there, you are adhering to that. And the software can't make sure that you do that. That is where your knowledge of statistics comes in. And the other area is stats knowledge and domain knowledge, but no programming. And that's how traditionally people have done data analysis, right? It's only in the recent years that a lot of programming is involved in data science, because we are working with more and more data. We are talking about speeds which are, almost real time at times, when you need to run a model. Like, you are all aware of this. Let's say you go to a website, like you go to Amazon.com and you order a book, and immediately you see 3-4 recommendations, right? That you want to buy this book, people have also bought that book, which means even while you are buying, there was some algorithm running at the background which was trying to figure out what are the kind of books that you might be interested in, and throwing out the result in real time, right? Programming is important. Yeah, you can't do that with your traditional approach. Yeah, so that is where statistics and programming comes together. So all these skills together build a data scientist, and which is why it is, even though there are so many people who are trained in stats or maybe programming, it is difficult to get that right mix, and there is so much of a demand for a good data scientist. Yeah. Alright, so I'm just trying to open this link. So if you open this link here, right, so you can go and play with this link, this data scientist, that Venn diagram which I'm talking about. So it's a very nice Venn diagram, and as you spend more time with it and read through it, you really understand what this is talking about. Yeah. Alright, I'm just trying to. Okay, so any questions till this point? Yeah, so even for base stats, okay, books and base stats. There is a very good book called Statistics for Dummies, you know, for your stats fundamentals. Yeah, and once if you can get hold of it, Statistics for Dummies, you can even look at one more book called Intermediate Statistics for Dummies. You know, these two books are actually very good, focusing on the fundamentals. And I think you might be able to get an ebook or a Kindle version also. Yeah? Any other questions? All right. So we'll move on. Okay. So business analytics, our course is designed around both these areas. One is business analytics, where we don't lose focus of what is the requirement, what is the business need which we are trying to address. Yeah. And data science, where we'll primarily use R for all our data science activities. Some programming skills, of course, we will not be going into deep programming, but we will be writing some small code in R, and we will apply some statistical methods. We will not go into a lot of statistical theory, but you know, I'll encourage you to do that on your own. Understand the theory behind each of the techniques which we apply. And if you have any specific questions about any statistical theory, please send me an email and we can take it offline. We may not have the time to go into the statistical theory in the course itself, but I'll be happy to address any questions which you might have. We will try to look at how these methods are used specific to certain domains, and which is why I was asking you what kind of domain knowledge which you have. So you can bring in your own expertise, you know, even though you know, this course primarily I'm talking and you are listening, I'll be happy to learn from you and get your experience and inputs so that everyone can benefit from that. All right. Okay. Okay, so what will we learn in this course? We will do some data visualization, and that is one of the, you know, one of the very positives or advantages of using R. You know, you can very easily do, okay, I think I moved one more slide. You can very easily do some very good visualizations in R with little or no programming. Yeah. Some of the standard data mining techniques which you may be aware of, clustering, association analysis, can be easily done in R. There are packages which enable you to do that. So we will look into that. Maybe a bit later in the program, after the first couple of weeks, we will look into how we can do clustering, how we can do association analysis. Anyone knows what is association analysis, what is clustering? Are you aware of these terms? Clustering I know, but not association analysis. Okay, Rahul? Yeah, forming groups, Shalini, that's basically what clustering is. Okay, so clustering, which you, some of you mentioned, yeah, association linking, right. So what I gave you that example, that is a kind of association, right? So if you go and buy something today online, then, you know, you find the website recommending to you that why don't you also look at these products? Yeah, you're familiar with that, right? So that is a kind of association. association analysis, where based on your profile, based on your pattern of buying, you link needed for pen, ink needed for pen. Yeah, exactly. You're perfectly correct. So if you go and buy a pen, you might, there's a huge possibility that you might also need ink, right? So the shopkeeper knows you have bought a pen. So yeah, Sushant has given us an example. So that's a good example, yeah. So you go and buy a pen. So immediately, if it's an online, you see that, a promotion on buying ink, or at least it comes on your list of recommendations, right? So this is something which is even done in your, regular kirana stores, right? Today we are just putting these concepts and using data to do it. But exactly, if you go to your local store and you buy a cricket bat, then, the shopkeeper will ask you, do you need a ball? Or if you go and buy, and you must have heard of the famous stories, some through data analysis, some really, these are obvious, right? If you buy a bat, you might need a ball. If you buy a pen, you might need an ink. But what association analysis does, and this is where the role of data analytics come in, which is not clear. There are so many associations which are not clear, but data tells us, right? You must have heard about the beer and diaper story. Yes? How many of you have heard about the beer and diaper story? You've heard. Right. Walmart case study, right? Yeah. Shiv Kumar has not heard. Yeah, so it was a very famous analysis where they did a lot of association analysis and saw, okay, so why do you do association analysis? So if you know that product A will go with product B, then you can put them together maybe, or give a promotion on the next product maybe, so increase sales. So Walmart Walmart has been one of the pioneers of using data analytics, and they have really been able to use it to increase their business. So one of the things which they found apparently was that on Friday evenings, two products which are very strongly associated or which go very closely together is diapers, baby diapers and beer, which is something which will not come intuitively to a shopkeeper or anyone, right? Why would beers and diapers go together? Yeah. So like on retrospect, it was assumed, or there was some kind of an explanation given that on Friday evenings, when the guys are coming back home, they pick up diapers for their kids and for their children at home, and when they pick up the diapers, they automatically also pick up a beer bottle. So I don't know whether it's true or false, but apparently this was one of the famous studies where association analysis came up with a really uncommon association, yeah, and which helped give an insight to the customer, to the business, that okay, these are two products which we did not realize goes together, but they do go together, yeah. So that is association analysis. Clustering, like all of you have said and like you already know, is a way of grouping. So like customer segmentation, right? You want to know how many of your customers are similar in nature, so that you can give the same kind of promotion, same kind of offers to customers in that same group. Yeah, so it's not a straightforward thing because there are a lot of parameters which you take into consideration. Yeah? And so it may be the age of the customer, the demographics, the location, the income profile, the past purchase history, the sex of the customer. So all these things might come together, and there are advanced data mining or data analytic techniques which take all these different factors and dimensions into consideration and create groups. So that is clustering. Similarly, there is regression modeling. Okay, now I'm looking at the chat window. They get the babysitter ready before they go out for party, and babysitter asks these first. Asks what first, Sushant? The diaper. Yeah. What about the beer bottle? So yes, so you can come up with your own, Right, they need for themselves. So the babysitter says go and get the diapers and you pick up a beer bottle for yourself. So there are all kinds of, see, once the data has given you an insight, then you use your knowledge of business, you use your domain knowledge to figure out, does this really make sense? You know, does it make sense that, okay, if diapers and beer bottles go together? So little bit of your domain knowledge or your insight, like Sushant is thinking, you know, maybe the babysitter has said that, and that is why it might make sense. Let me try it out. Yeah. So business needs to use their own domain knowledge on top of the results which, you know, which the data tells you, right? Yeah. What about modeling or regression? Any idea what is regression? Anyone? Why do we do regression? Have you heard about this term? Past data study, yes. Trend and pattern, okay. Yeah, so basically you are correct. Yeah, regression may be used to predict, but it is used to predict in fact, but what regression really does is you want to build a relationship between one variable or one parameter and other parameters, right? Let's say property prices. You can look at it as a simple thing, right? So today you have property, you want to buy a house. Let's say you want to, so you want to buy a property, and there are, you will be given a price, right? Now this price depends on a number of factors, yeah? Of course, the size of the house, the area, the location where you're buying the house, the different facilities which are there in the house, whether there's a club, there's a swimming pool, there's a security. Yeah, so there are many factors on which this price of your house might depend on, and there is no direct relationship. You know, you can't just give very nicely or easily an equation which will tell you that okay, this is how they're related, right? And so regression is basically creating a model or creating a explanation where you can give these as inputs, all these parameters, and it will give you the output, which is the price of a house. And of course, if you go into the theory, you know how this is done. There is linear regression, there are different regression models like, you know, stepwise regression, logistic regression. But basically that is what it is. There are a number of input variables and there is an output variables. You want to be able to create some kind of a relationship between them, and once you have the relationship, you can use this relationship to predict prices for houses where you don't know the price, right? So you give all the input parameters, it will give you a result. So that is why it is also used to predict. It is not used to predict relationship between variables, Shiv Kumar. Maybe I would not use that phrase. It is used to predict the result from the input variables. Yeah, and it builds a relationship based on the data. Okay, yeah. Demand forecasting. Yeah, so just like you have regression, there is forecasting where, you know, forecasting is typically used for predicting the future based on historical data. Yeah, so you know the sales for your for a retail store, or for your, you know, the sales over a period, over 5 years, over 10 years. You can sort of forecast that, okay, next year I think this is how my sales are going to be. So there will be some increase, there will be some seasonality, you know, certain months, maybe before your Christmas and before your Diwali, there will be a lot more sales. So you factor all these things around in trend and seasonality, and you can forecast. Yeah. Data manipulation, we will look into data manipulation, which is what I was talking about, and this is a very, very important part of your whole modeling. Yeah. How you can, how to prepare your data, how to make it ready for modeling. Yeah. And this is where your, you know, how good you are as a data scientist or as a data analyst comes in, you know, or how easily you can make that. And there are a lot of decisions which you have to take during data manipulation. So there will be missing data. Not every data will be available to you. So what do you do? How do you replace the data which is missing? Do you replace the whole row altogether? Let's say there's one parameter which is missing, or do you replace it with some other value? Or do you delete the whole thing altogether? So these are decisions which might affect or impact the output you are getting, or how good your model is fitting. So data manipulation we will look into. Sorry, 12 MS to 11. 12, yeah. So we will also look into these topics briefly, not going into depth. Yeah. One is infographics, business strategy models, data mining, other techniques in data mining like support vector machine and decision tree, neural nets. So we will briefly know what these things mean, but maybe not go into a whole lot of depth. Web analytics, social media analytics, yes. Some of you may already have some exposure to it. Do you? Yeah. Has anybody worked on any kind of web analytics or social media analytics? Great, shall we? Okay. So we will look into a bit of what that means or how you can perfect. Okay. And social network analysis, right? We might look into a little bit about network analysis also. What we will learn, what we might learn, and what we may not learn, right? So advanced R coding, R is a 4GL or 4th generation language which has a lot of advanced coding facilities, and you are welcome to go in depth and ask me questions if you want to do advanced coding, but we may not in the program go into a whole lot of depth in advanced coding. We won't go very deep into any particular domain. We will try to talk about the main domains where data analytics is used, but not go in depth into any of these. Big data and Hadoop, you have a, I don't know why it's moving by itself. Yeah. Big data and Hadoop, you have a separate course for that. We won't be talking about big data. Advanced statistical concepts and theory, we will not be looking into. Okay, Sushant, you need insight and books that's good for advanced stuff means all of this stuff or any specific thing which you are interested in? Advanced R. Yeah. So in the next slide, I'll talk about, yes, I will email you some books and links for advanced stuff. We'll also discuss some of the places online where you can get help in R. Yeah. And there are a couple of courses in Coursera. Are you aware of Coursera? Okay. So, you want web intelligence and big data, more data. Okay. So what you can do is maybe just shoot me an email, yeah? You probably know my, you must be having my email address. No, I can't type in here. Okay. Yeah, so bidisha.s@edureka.in. So I'll send you my email address. Just, each one of you may have different requirements in the advanced space. So you can send me a email and I will get back to you on where you can get the material. So Coursera, yes, Sushant, you have done a course in Coursera, is it? Perfect. You've done the R course? Okay. So, Coursera, yes, Sushant, you have done a course in Coursera, is it? Perfect. You've done the R course? 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 Okay, so Coursera also has a very nice course on R, and I will be giving you those links. And it covers a lot of advanced programming techniques as an R. Okay. Yeah, I think it is from, yeah, I will go into that. Let me just give me a little time. I have a slide where I will share with you all the courses which you can do in Coursera, and shoot me an email in case, you know, I'll also do my little research and give you a comprehensive list. Okay. So this slide tells you what is the course methodology. So you're already aware. It's a 6-week course, 2 days, 2 hours. You have some quizzes in class sometimes. Then you have case studies, question and answers, class participation which you all are doing. There will be a group project, and there will be a final exam, and there's a pass criteria, of course. If you have to score about 65% to get a certificate. Okay? Alright. Okay, so would you like to take a break now? Before we go into details? Yeah. So let's take a 5-minute break. Yeah, and I'll see you back in 5 minutes. Yeah. All right. Okay. Shall we start? Great. So yeah, so we've already covered these, right? What is business analytics? What are the problems which we are trying to solve? What are the tools which can be used? How are businesses solving these problems? How is data analytics playing a role? Yeah, and you must be aware that a lot of the work happens through Excel and spreadsheets, right? But it has its limitations, yeah, right? So one of the limitations is, of course, the amount of data. Spreadsheets can only handle a certain amount of data, and you know, that is where you start relying on tools like R and SAS, etc., where Excel is no longer able to address huge volumes of data, and advanced techniques of statistical analysis also. Though an Excel does cover a lot of analysis techniques in its data analysis pack, etc., there are, of course, a lot of limitations. So okay, so now moving on. What is business analytics? What kind of problems does it solve? You know all this. History of business analytics, we have covered that. Different kinds of business analytics, we have covered that also. Different kinds of techniques. What is R? What is SAS? Right? SAS has been what predominantly have been the tool which people have used for business analytics, but today R is gaining more and more popularity. So how are they different? So this part we will look into. So before we go into what are the differences between SAS and R and what are the advantages one has over the other, we need to know a little bit about R, okay? A little bit about the history of the language, what it does. So we will get into more and more deep into R from this point. So moving on, yeah. So this is a link, rproject.org, where you can, read up on the evolution of R. I won't spend time in the class getting into it, but how it has evolved from the S language. So R is basically a different implementation of S. S was created at Bell Laboratories and R was, I think, created at University of Auckland. So you can go into that and see how it has evolved. So this is a link which will tell you about the history of R, rproject.org. It's open source, it is free, it is very widely recognized, means it can be used along with a lot of tools, a lot of different tools. We will look into the official website of R installation. Let me move ahead. So corporate usage of R, domains and companies. So which are the domains which are using R? Mainly the domains who are doing a lot of analytics. We have already covered that, BFSI, retail. These are some of the standard domains where R is used. And companies which are, R is, of course, like as I said, an open source tool and a framework, but there are different companies which are making R more and more easily available by integrating it with other products. So these may be existing products in statistical modeling with which R is being integrated. Like SAS integrates with R, and then you have Tableau, which in its latest version allows you to integrate with R. And then there are standalone tools which have been created on R alone, like, we briefly spoke about R Studio and Revolution R. So these are all different softwares which are being used, which have been created by companies for increasing the usability of R as a language and a platform. Okay. So yeah, we just spoke about some of the companies which are developing R products. So R Studio is an R product which gives you a good interface, a good user interface for doing R programming. Revolution Analytics is another product which allows So even R, I would say, has some data limitations by itself because it does the whole data modeling and running on RAM, you know. So Revolution Analytics provides a way to manage that, where you can work with bigger volumes of data using R programming. And though R is free and open source, Revolution Analytics, I believe, is not free. You know, it has an enterprise license which you have to pay for. Okay. Okay, do you know that SAP uses R for analyzing its HANA databases? So like we said, that it is, you know, look at the breadth of how R is being used. So you can now embed R core in SAP for your statistical modeling. So all these tools which are using some kind of statistical modeling are looking for ways to integrate with R or connect with R to enhance its statistical capabilities. Because R just offers so many packages, so much graphical utilities, and it is free of cost. You know, so it is in the interest of different software or different product developers and software product developers to you know, increase the usage of R. So this is, you can go to this link, help.sap.com, and see how SAP is using R for in its HANA database. Okay, SAS Institute. Yeah, so one would think that SAS is a direct competitor of R because R is you know, gaining so much popularity over the few years. But as we know that in SAS, a lot of the packages you have to pay for. So just you know, if it's not working, just go and search. Yeah, I'll just test. I think there are some. Okay, yeah, you're right, it's not working. What I would typically do is, so you can help.sap.com. Yeah, so there would be some. This is one PDF file where you will get information. You will also get it in setting up guide if you really want to. Yes, I'll just send you the link. Yeah. So you can go into each of these contents and find out how R and SAP integrates. Yeah, so then like I said, in SAS, a lot of the things which you have to pay for separately in terms of buying SAS packages, you can, you know, which can be done using R for free. So SAS is also looking at R as an opportunity and finding means that you can invoke R functions through SAS, right? Okay. So you can look at this link to see how SAS is working with R. Then Teradata is also using R for analytics. These are just some of the examples. All these links are provided, and these material is already available in LMS. You know? So you can just download them, and if you're interested in any specific tool and how it is working with R, so you can go to that link and read up more. This is just to give you an overview of the breadth of usage of R. So since you're going to be experts in R, we need to know how much, you know, what are the places where R is being used. IBM uses and teaches R for high-end analytics. And so does a lot of other companies. Today R is one of the primary skills which you are asked when you say you are a data scientist. That is the first question which probably can be expected to hear. And one of the reasons is often when we do data analysis, the client may not be in a position to invest in some very high-end expensive statistical product, right? So sometimes it is a requirement from the client side that you use something which can be implemented free of cost or with which is free. So that is where from the business there is a lot of thrust to use R. Also because it's open source and it can easily be connected with existing softwares, existing data sources very easily. Okay, so what are the domains? This we have already covered: telecom, pharma, financial services, life sciences, right? Clients of R, yeah, almost anyone you can look at. So, and this is by no means an exhaustive list. Yes, Shalini, you have a question? When will this material be available in LMS? I believe it's already available. Yeah, it should already be available once you log on to LMS. But in case you have, if you're not able to, okay, maybe you have to send an email to, our coordinator should be able to help. Fine, Shalini, I'll get that resolved. So once the course gets over, you should be able to get it in LMS. I will talk to the people in charge of the content. Sure, I'll do that. Is there a link? No, there is no link. If you go to LMS, you will see the content divided module wise. So on your module, like module 1, you will be able to get the deck for today's class. Not so when you go to LMS, do you see something like this? Yeah, do you see something like LMS and then there is a section called module 1? Yeah. I'll have somebody send you a detailed email with the instructions. Can others see? Are others able to find it in LMS? Or is it a common problem or only Shalini who is facing it? Okay. Right, so Shalini, Rajat, Ranjit, everyone is able to see it. Yeah, so while it is available, Shivakumar is also able to see. So yeah, so probably Shalini, maybe you are facing a specific problem or maybe you are not going to the right place. So we'll take it offline, we'll take it separately. Basically, once you log on to Edureka and then you go to the LMS, you should be able to see it under module 1. Okay, so now comparing R. So is it all good or there are some disadvantages in R? So R is open source, it has a lot of packages. These are all the good things about R. Yeah, it can be customized, it has very good graphics which is available free, available to you free of cost. It has UI to help you, start using R very easily. It can connect to many databases and data types. Yeah, these are the advantages which we discussed. But it does have a steep learning curve. It is not as easy as a lot of other tools. There are a lot of packages. You might get lost in the middle of all that. So you need to know what you are doing, what are the different ways to do it in R and why to choose one over the other. Yeah, by default stores memory in RAM and we discussed this, right? Like it loads the data onto RAM and works. So depending on your RAM, that might become a limitation. If you don't have a high capacity RAM, you may have to work with smaller data sets. Yes, you do need good programming skills, and what else? Customization needs command line. You need to use which package to use. Yeah, so these are not really, I wouldn't say these are really disadvantages, but yeah, you need to work your way around these. Okay. Yes, we already covered this slide. Yeah, so this is another link, R for stats. It's a very good link, in fact. If you go to r4stats.com, yeah, so here you get to see what are the different, how R is being used in along with different softwares, and a lot of analysis on which software is being used, which are the tools in the market, players in the market, what has been the trend over the years in terms of, jobs, yes, but also in terms of usage of R, etc. Yeah. So go through this. This is also something which has some interesting insights. And if you look at this graph over here, you can see that this is how you see, like, SPSS, SAS, data. These are the main tools, software modeling tools, which has been popular, and how R has grown, really steep over the years. Okay. So any questions till now, or we will move into, installation of R. Any questions? Okay. So do you all have R installed on your machines? Yes or no? Yes. Okay, great. Okay, some of you have not. So yeah, so for those who have already installed it, this may be a repetition, but for those who have not, we need to install R before we proceed. Okay, so Anirudh, you have a question. Yes? Yes, Aniruddha? You can type in the question, any specific. Okay, so a few questions here. Okay, Shushant is asking, any specific computer configuration needed? No. You can install R on any computer, Mac or Windows, but the greater RAM you have, the better performance you will get. Will the course cover using external files? And the external files means what? Like, you mean Excel files or CSV files or any particular file format? So what is your question, Aniruddha? RAM limitations or what, or external files? DB tables as input? We can talk about it. We can cover briefly, but mostly we will work with CSVs or spreadsheets. Yeah, external files for sure. We will talk about how you can import data from, let's say, a CSV file or a spreadsheet, which is an external file. But yeah, tables, I can tell you how you can connect to different data sources. But since all of us may not have the infrastructure to connect to the same kind of a data source, which may be an SQL Server database or something, we will stick to external files for our program here. But if you want to connect to a specific data source, again, shoot me an email. I will tell you what package to use and how you can do that. Yeah, we will also talk about how to save data in external files. No problem. It's very simple actually. course assignment, if I were to use Oracle R rather than open source version, should be fine. I don't see a problem, Rajat, with doing that. You can use Oracle R. But why don't you use, open source version of R? Because, it will give you the flexibility and that to use R with almost anything, So if you have Oracle R, fine, you can do it in Oracle R, but go ahead and install. I would suggest, recommend that you install the open source version and work on it. Because I'm sure there will be some changes made to the Oracle R version. So if you have installed R, well and good. If you have not installed R, you can go to this link. Yeah, cran.rproject.org. Yeah, and there you will see a few links. Download R for Linux, download R for Mac. Are you all using Windows machine or anyone is using a Mac or Linux? Windows. Perfect. So then you need to click on the third link. Okay. Some of you are using Mac and Linux. Poor guy. Yeah, even I use Windows. In fact, I have Windows on a Mac. Windows installed on a Mac. So you can use anything basically. Should not be a problem. I personally have not worked on Linux, but I have worked on Mac and Windows. But you should not face any problem. Yeah. So download R. Can you all click? Those of you who don't have R, can you click on the package, on the link, which is appropriate for you, whether it's Linux or Mac or Windows? And it will take you to the installation process. If you have any problems, just let me know. So once you have R installed and you run R, you should see a console like this. If you can see my screen, you will see the R console like this. So once you get there, just tell me that you are done. Great. Great, Gavish. Some of you already are there. Anirudh, you are also there. Great. Okay. Anyone who is not there? Okay, Shalini, we'll wait for you. Great. Yeah, so it will take a few minutes. And once you have finished downloading it, you can open up the console. Yeah. So once you installed R, then we'll see how we can install packages, update packages, etc. Great. So there is also something called the R Studio, right? So we will start with R for now, but after the program is in your spare time, you can go and install R Studio. So from tomorrow when we start working, you can select, you can make a choice whether you want to work on R or you want to work on R Studio. Okay, so R Studio will look something like this. This is like, okay, so you have a choice of using R or R Studio. Let's start with R today, and then you need to have R in order to install R Studio, and that is also free. So R Studio has a better GUI, and a lot of menu-driven options where you have to write code in R. It is menu-driven in R Studio. Help is, like you can see the help in a separate window. You can see all your packages in a window. you can see everything in one place, your plots, your packages, help, plus you have a lot of menu driven options. So it has definitely some advantages over our console. I find it more comfortable using RStudio. But whatever code or whatever command you use in R will work same in RStudio. So there is actually no difference. Even in this class, some of you are using R, some of you are using RStudio. There should be no problem. Great. So moving on. So once you have installed R, if you have any problems with installing R, let me know. But it's usually very smooth. So once you have installed R, for RStudio, I will just Google it. Don't have it. RStudio. So I have to install it from here. Okay. So there is a desktop version of RStudio, which is the one which you download. Yeah, but like I said, you can comfortably continue working with the R console. Okay. All right. So R and R packages. Yeah, packages are also same for both. There's no difference. It's the same R which you are doing in R as well as RStudio, just that the UI is different and the experience is different as a user. Okay, so this is the list of, this is installation of packages. So everything in R is a package. Okay, so if you want to install some package, let's say I want to install, okay, so now I am in the R console and I want to install a package. So how do I, there is a link called packages. I can say install package. Yeah, did you all follow me with that? So you go to packages and say install package. So when you say install package, it will open up a window for you to select the CRAN mirror. So you can basically choose any, let's say choose India. That's basically the site from where they will download the package. Okay, so these are all the different packages in R, and you don't need to know what each of one of them means. No one knows. I mean, no, I wouldn't say no one knows, but it's difficult for any one person to know all of these. But let's say I want to download A3 package. Okay, so I just select A3 and I click OK. It will install that package on my machine. Okay, or let's say any other package.
Welcome to the webinar. You have entered as an organizer and may now speak to any other organizers or panelists on the line. When you are ready to begin the presentation, press the Start Broadcast button on the GoToWebinar control panel to allow all attendees to hear you. This system will notify you once you begin your broadcast.